it really felt like if you were on the right, you were a pariah.
Some of the repercussions from having Donald Trump win as opposed to having Kamala Harris, there's a lot of people that are on the right that people on the right would consider being persecuted. Some people were put in jail. A lot of people were questioning whether free speech was
The left silenced us.
Under attack by the left.
Yes.
So why don't you go ahead and articulate your position, Luke? What do you think?
About whether or not people were being persecuted?
Yeah, so when we were talking before the show, we were talking about how I was saying how I want to punish the left the way that they punished the right.
The way you think they did, right?
No, the way they did. To where we felt unsafe. Like, I live in Philadelphia, and you couldn't have a Trump sticker on your car because they would smash the windows out. They burnt cars, right? They would attack your house. They would physically harm you or say things to you or be nasty to you. We had elected representatives saying not attack these people. That's not what just confront these people at the street, at the gas station, in the grocery store, right?
Referring to Maxine Waters,
correct,
specifically.
And we felt like we were getting kicked off of every social media platform. I was considered a quote hate agent on Facebook and was not allowed to have one. Period. Right? Like a hate agent, all for posting a picture. I didn't post any commentary. I just posted a picture on the thing, and they canceled it forever. It wasn't until I went to work for The Hill again and got my congressional email back was I able to have it. They censored us. They isolated us. It was almost like, how you guys accuse us of being in a cult all the time. It's almost like you guys are in the cult. If you can't be friends with any right-wing people, you can't agree with them at all. You're isolating the opposition. If you're all not on the same page, it's a problem. Where we can at least criticize our people. We can criticize the president. We don't isolate anybody. We're willing to talk to you, and we don't threaten you with violence. And you can bring up January 6th or whatever, but it really felt like
we need to get into that for sure.
Yeah, but it really felt like if you were on the right, you were a pariah in society.
Yeah, okay.
And you see that in your comment section about me.
First off, political violence of any kind, if you're saying that someone attacks your car or something because there's a MAGA sticker, that's insane. They shouldn't do that. It is important to remember that the data show that right-wing political violence is far more
fake data.
Hold on, I want
political violence. Well, I'm just going to finish the point. She went for a while there. And then, you bring up January 6th. That's an instance of political violence. But what you need to understand about something I've explained to Isabella before is that to understand our political analysis of two different relevant, prominent leaders, you have to at least limit it for some logical discussions to the leaders we're talking about, not vibes and abstract perceptions of an entire side. Because on any side, people will do crazy stuff.
But abstract
in the case
perceptions,
of,
look at the BLM riots for months. It's largely left-wing activists. How come it's that base?
Democrats believed that if you committed crimes, you should be held accountable for them.
That's not true.
Unlike
they were
Trump
bailing them
actually
out. Kamala
it's not true.
herself.
Yeah, it's not true. Unlike Trump actually wanting to pardon people who were violent on January 6th. But I will say,
they should, all of them.
In the case of Trump, I'm all for protecting free speech. Y'all will sometimes mix up social media censorship, which if you have a platform, you're on the platform and you have terms of service, we can debate about what those terms of service should be, but that's not the same as government infringement.
But the government did infringe,
right?
And
I'm just going to complete my point really quickly. We can address that.
It's already getting heated, not even 5 minutes in.
No. And then finally, I've never heard Vice President Harris advocate for censorship, whereas Trump literally said the government should come down hard on MSNBC. That's your leader of your movement, not just some random person out on social media.
Which I disagree with that, by the way.
Kamala Harris absolutely said that she was going to look into expropriating Twitter from Elon Musk because he had lost his privilege. These are her words. That's a direct quote. Lost his privilege to own because he was being. I guess the way that she phrased it was he wasn't doing enough to censor people. She literally said lost his privilege. There was that is a direct quote. Lost.
I'm going to pull it up.
Lost his privilege.
I haven't even seen that.
Right.
So that's an actual direct quote from.
If you can find her advocating government.
Well, the FBI had a desk. They had a portal at Twitter where the FBI could tell
Trump,
people. No, not.
As well.
It doesn't matter that it was under Trump. It was.
I'm just saying. You're talking about something.
No. It doesn't matter because
platforms have existed.
It doesn't matter because the FBI
has happened.
It should not.
But it's
the
not
FBI
forcing them.
It does not matter. The FBI is not in a position to tell private companies who they should and shouldn't censor. That's illegal.
So I'm asking you, you're saying that Trump's administration was engaging in illegal behavior.
I'm telling you the FBI, and it doesn't matter if it was Trump's administration.
No, it does matter.
No, it doesn't.
No, it doesn't.
I'll explain to you why it does matter.
I'll explain to you why it does. Go ahead.
There has always been between private and public entities communication, sharing of information in some cases.
This
so
is obfuscating the point.
Let me just explain
You're absolutely obfuscating the point of the.
Listen to what I'm saying, though.
Let him finish, though.
Listen, I'm saying that I agree if the FBI said, we're going to punish you, Twitter or Facebook or something, if you don't censor stuff we want you to censor, that would be a huge problem. Them going also under the Trump administration because Trump was upset that some actress called him a mean word, and they went and requested, hey, we think this violates your terms of service, which anyone with connections at Twitter can do. Hey, does this violate terms of service? Because you might want to take it down. And then what we've seen is the percentages of the actual posts they end up taking down proves that they're not feeling threatened, because a lot of the ones that the government will go, hey, is this against your terms of service? Like, I guess the FBI example, then the social media platforms don't even do it. So they're not even being pressured enough to do all the requests.
So
if there were pressure, then I would agree with you.
But there is pressure. There is fundamental pressure. Now, I was
just
telling
the existence of the FBI saying,
asking
hey,
something.
You should do
Can
this.
you look at this?
When the government asks, that is pressure. And to say that it's not is ridiculous.
Yeah,
if the government
you don't hold that principle on a bunch of other things.
Yes, we do. Here, let me explain to you why. I used to work for Congress. I used to do casework. I was explaining this to Isabella the other day, right? And we would advocate for our constituents. And sometimes we would have to advocate for our constituents to say like American Airlines or a company that wasn't a federal agency. And when we did that, we had to make sure we said, can you give this request consideration, full and fair consideration under the law? However, even though we put that stipulation in there, we knew by the government coming to ask them that we were exerting pressure because they're like, oh, a congressman asked for this to happen, right? And what happens is that they know that if you have histories of not complying, that they can come and like investigate your business.
They have endless resources.
And they've been doing that. The DOJ, don't they have an open investigation under
I would love
X right
to flesh out that principle, because it feels like you really limitedly apply it. For example, Trump, because he doesn't like certain coverage, saying CBS should be taken off the air, ABC should be taken off the air, and saying the MSNBC should be targeted by the government. Explicitly his words, you can look up the True Social.
Yeah, he did.
Does anyone here agree? Like, I don't think that's okay. Obviously.
None of y'all are fixated on that, whereas Harris, I still haven't seen the clip.
I just pulled it up, but I'm seeing here that like it's a fact check, not totally accurate. So I want to be good about what it says. And you, Kellen, I put it in the thing, but you can look
again. Yeah. So I'm sure there's some random lefties who are too pro censorship and stuff like that. But I'm looking at people in positions of power because then I know that they're actually relevant to political discourse. Trump's the only one I've heard overtly calling for censorship, which is why he would be the more anti-free speech candidate.
Okay. So here's what I want to say to that, right? When I tell you that like mass people, and they've shown data to support this, were being pulled off of social media outlets, right? Like they were the ones. If you look at the data, there is another graph too that shows now that Elon Musk bought Twitter, it's an even split. It's almost identical.
CNN. That was a CNN.
It was a CNN, right?
Of people using the
platform. And before it was skewed so far to the left. And that is not because of usage. That is because they were deactivating so many accounts.
A lot of it's because of liberals not using the platform anymore. But I've looked into
so what they went to Blue Sky in the last month.
We've there's been analyses that have demonstrated that it's because right-wingers violate the term of service. Now, you could say the term of service should be different, and that's totally fine.
Well, okay,
and I have issues with term of service sometimes whenever videos of mine get taken down or whatever, but that's different than the left or Democrats have
So now, I want to push back on that idea. The idea.
Do you understand the distinction, though? It seems like...
I understand.
I mean, the point that I'm making, though, is when you say violate the terms of service, this speaks to something that actually Tim made a point about when he was on the Joe Rogan podcast, right? So if you say, like, if you make remarks about trans people, if you dead name someone, that is something that you could lose your Twitter account, you could get locked out for dead naming. But that isn't because of that's an ideological position. That's not like if you say, oh, you're violating the terms of service because you're harassing someone because you didn't dead name them. That's an ideological position.
Right, it's not like constant harassment. And the things is that the terms of service were so vague.
Yeah, they're ambiguous. No, they're not
specific. Terms of service. If the terms of service if the people making the judgment about the terms of service are ideologically,
I just agree with you. Of course,
you just said that it was. That didn't.
And I do take issue with the terms
of service. What is racism? What are these different things? What is hate speech? All of that's going to be completely subjective. Obviously,
and by the
that's
way,
just the way that
target people
private platforms. The only way that you can make this a
disgusting.
constitutional issue is if you if you like nationalized social media platforms.
No, because
which I don't
because the government trying to use a third party to censor is illegal as well, and that's something the Supreme Court has found. So if the government is pressuring social media companies to block people or to boot them off the platform, that's a violation of their constitutional rights too. So you can't say that the only way.
Totally fine. I agree they shouldn't pressure. You're also not really making a right or left issue, because that's something that the Trump administration part took in a lot. And Trump actually says it more overtly. So it sounds like you're from the Democratic Party.
Go ahead.
Same with a bunch of Democrats. Then awesome.
Because I remember a few years ago, congressional Democrats putting pressure on social media company owners to start censorship. And even just right before the 2024 election, Adam Schiff, what did Trump call him? Shifty Schiff with his long neck, whatever, pencil neck Schiff.
Watermelon head.
He demands social media companies take action in advance of 2024 election to address spread of election misinformation, which they also did with COVID. They were censoring doctors and anyone that had different opinions regarding the efficacy of the COVID vaccine.
And the Hunter Biden laptop. But that's
spreading misinformation. Right. They censored the New York Post.
Right. So here's the difference, right?
You're circling,
Can you
not addressing
that?
I'm getting to your point. That's what I want to do.
Okay.
Do you consider like social media the town square at this point in our given digital age society? Like back in the day, think about like in the 1800s, everybody go to the corner and talk, right? And if you removed somebody from that square and they couldn't talk anymore, right? Then you would be violating their First Amendment right? Like they can't, you're not allowed to say that like here on the street corner. And so that is the difference. Like right now, our street corner where our public discourse is being done on Twitter. So if they're trying to have it both ways, they're trying to say everybody can speak here. And they're putting these arbitrary rules in, which, sometimes you were banned for no reason.
The
companies, these private companies, right? But that's the difference. They're either the town square or they're a private company. They're trying to have it both ways.
And legally not the town square.
Thanks for watching this clip from the Culture War podcast. We're live every Friday, 10 a.m. to noon. So subscribe and come hang out.